episode of the Last of Us talk show. I'm your host, Mikey, and in this episode, we are doing our long time TV episode versus video game comparison. And this is not even a comparison, right? I mean, there's nothing really to compare. These things, they are not the same at all. And I saw the after show spiel from Druckman and Craig Mazin, and they said that this is by far the biggest deviation from the video game that the show is going to make. And yeah, I would hope so because this is nothing. This is nothing like, like the video game, not at all. So there's quite a bit to go through. I thought this could have been a real short episode. I thought, yeah, you know what? There's nothing that's even really similar, but because they are so different, I figured I should actually kind of do a, a short little breakdown of what actually happens in the video game, so you know just how big of a difference that this really is. Because once again, this is a huge difference. The two things are not the same at all. So I guess actually, before we get into that, I noticed that the podcast numbers keep growing. I really appreciate that. So if you're listening on the podcast, make sure you hit that follow button, the subscribe button, whatever you need to do on the podcast listener that you're listening to this on. Quickly leave a 5-star rating if you can. That would be great. If you're watching the YouTube version of this, I'd love if you'd hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. That's really appreciated. I love to see the audience is growing, and I would love to see some more interaction coming in as well. I'd still love to know. Nobody answered on the first round. What is the first meal that you had with your significant other that, you know, if you had to recreate that meal, what would you have to make? Again, for me and my wife, it's nachos. So be honest. Don't try to make up something fancy and romantic like, rabbit and wine like we have in The Last of Us. For real, what's the first meal that you ever had together with your significant other? Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and we can uh, uh let's see here. We can go ahead and get into the comparison here. All right. Here we go. I was just pulling something up real quick so that I can read this later. Okay, here we go. Now it's staying up. All right. So here we go. This is the long time comparison to video game. Most people call this part of the video game Billstown, right? So again, this part will start right kind of like at the beginning of the episode, right? In the beginning of the episode, we see Joel. He's down by the river and he's kind of mourning Tess's death. In the video game, um, they are on the run, so this doesn't happen right river. They're just in the middle of a town or something, right? And this is actually where we hear the rules from Joel in the video game. In the video game, it does sound like Ellie is about to say that she's sorry about what happened to Tess, because she's like, "Hey, Joel, look, what happened to Tess back there about that." And Joel interrupts her, and instead of saying to not say she's sorry here, this is where Joel tells her to, one, never bring up Tess or their history, and two, don't tell anybody about her condition, and three, to do whatever he says. So that's actually where that comes in the video game. And then, of course, they have to make their way over to Bill's. You know, he mentions, like, oh, I know this guy over in this town a few miles over this way. And they're walking along, and in the video game, they actually do cut through the forest instead of staying on the road and running into that big graveyard. They just cut through the forest because it's a shortcut to get to the town that Bill is in. But in the video game, when they arrive there, Joel can't get in through the fence. He doesn't have a code for the fence, and they can't climb over the top because it's got barbed wire all around it. So they're going to have to go around. But we also find out that Joel has never actually been to Bill's town before. Um, he knows Bill, and he meets up with Bill in different places to trade supplies, but he's never actually been to Bill's town. So that's a pretty big difference from what we see in the show, right? Where Joel and Tess, you know, um, become friends with them, especially Frank and Tess, and they visit them frequently and have nice lunches with them and trade goods. Let's see here. So in the video game, they do hop over the fence, and again, a pretty big difference between the TV show and the video game is in obviously in the TV show, right? We see Bill and Frank; they're in their town, um, and it's pretty safe within the fences there. Not the case in the video game. You jump the fence, and there's traps set up all throughout the town that you have to avoid. There's infected still in the town. You know, it's a big town, so it's not like in the TV show where Bill's in a small little town and has a lot of it just fenced off, and he's able to keep it all protected. In the video game, it's just like, oh, it's this, it's a bigger town, and it is still fenced off, but I guess Bill just never cleared the infected out of the town, or there's another way in that the infected keep coming through. Now that I think about it, that does make sense. I do remember in the video game there's some sort of mention in a letter or something about, or like a note that Bill has, that there's a wall that the infected keep coming through. So you end up running into a lot of infected in Bill's town. So again, you find a way over the fence and get into the town. You find you figure out that there's some traps like set up all over the place, so you have to avoid the traps while you're looking for Bill. And then we still get this interaction between Joel and Ellie here during this section as well, where Ellie is wanting the gun to help Joel fight off the infected, or whatever else may come, but Joel is unwilling to give her a gun, even in the video game. And then, why that becomes important is because Joel actually walks into one of Bill's traps, and it's like a rope contraption. He steps in it. The rope wraps around his ankle, right, and then hangs him upside down. And then there's a counterweight on the other side of the room that Ellie has to cut down to get, or has to cut to get Joel down from this trap. And then, of course, for the video game, this is a great, fun action sequence, because Joel is hanging upside down, and as you are hanging upside down as Joel, infected start breaking into this. It's like a garage or something, and infected start coming in. So you have to like shoot off or shoot and fight off these infected, and keep yourself from dying, one, from the infected coming to attack you, but you also have to keep Ellie alive at the same time as she's trying to cut you down. So it's a really fun, great action scene for a video game. Again, not too realistic if it was a real world situation, especially in the TV show. We've establish that shooting isn't easy, right? We get this scene where Joel and Ellie are talking about how he got a scar in his head, and he's like, I shot at or someone shot at me and missed, and then I shot back at them and missed, and you know what? That happens, you know, in general. In the video game, if you're a really good gamer, right? If you have really good high skill aiming, you can play Joel like he's like a sharpshooter, But and I've seen plenty of gameplay like that. I've also seen a lot of gameplay of people like that, they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if they were standing right next to it. So that's just how it is. But as a video game, it is a really fun little action section there. Um, Ellie is able to cut him down, and just as Ellie cuts him down, one of the infected make it to Joel and is about to, potentially bite him. But this is where Bill steps in and kills this infected. And there's still, again, a ton of infected in this part of town, so they have to start running. Bill leads them back to his house that he's staying in, and as soon as they get in there, Bill puts handcuffs on Ellie and handcuffs her to a pipe, and pulls a gun on Joel, and he's like telling them to explain what they're doing there. And then Bill is like trying to search Joel and see if he's got any bites or infection, and then obviously we know that you know Ellie can't be found out, so she's thankfully able to like free herself from the wall by you know pulling on the pipe, and the pipe comes out of the wall, and then she hits Bill in the arm, and stops him from searching them, and he actually like complains that his arm hurts real bad or could have been broken, and it's his shooting arm, so he's upset about that. um Joel is telling Bill that he owes him a favor, and they need a car. So uh, Bill reluctantly agrees to that. Uh, Figures that they can go to another part of town where they can get the parts to get to make a battery to get a car running. So they walk over to another area that is Bill's bunker so that they can load up on guns and ammunition. And even here, Ellie is wanting a gun, but Joel still won't let her have one. So again, that's a pretty constant theme in both the show and video game. And then Bill and um, Joel they keep arguing here about who Bill doesn't know who Ellie is, so he's like they're arguing about this girl, and it's dangerous, and to have to take care of someone in that you know basically babysitting a a little girl is going to get Joel killed, and it's not worth it. um and Bill knows this because he tells Joel that he had someone that he cared about, and that he had to look after. But again, that's only good for getting you killed. That's Bill's sentiment in the video game, that having somebody to look after is just a way that's going to end up getting you killed. Far from where we see Bill end up in the TV show, right? So they have to go get this battery from a truck that crashed into the side of a school in the video game. That's how they're going to get a battery for a truck that works. They have to go retrieve the battery from another truck that crashed and then go put it into another truck that should work. Uh, Unfortunately, when they get there, again, a lot of action in between this. A lot of fighting um, infected along the way, um, trying to get to the school, and then when they get there, they look in uh, the hood of the truck, and of course, the battery's already been taken. And then there's still a ton of infected around, so they have to run from the infected, and they ended up in like the school gym nasium, and there is an infected in there which we have not a type of infected in there which we have not seen in the TV show yet, so I won't mention it here, but there's a certain type of infected here. I don't want to spoil for the people who are TV shows only, TV watchers only. Um, but yeah, we run into an infected in here. They have to fight it off, and then um, a bunch more infected keep coming in after that one. So they have to find a way to escape out. They get out. The infected are still chasing them around, and then they end up um, uh, they like climb a ladder over a fence, and then they rush into the nearest house to take cover in house while the infected don't know where they are. They're in there. They are arguing about what to do next. Then when while they are doing this, uh, Bill looks over and he sees a man who has hung himself, and then his mood changes. He becomes upset, and Joel's like, "Well, would you know this guy?" And this is where Bill says, "Like, yeah, this was, you know, earlier he had said he had somebody that he cared about and somebody he had to take care of." And he says, "Yeah, this was my partner. This was Frank, and this is guy I was taking care of, and." I know it's him because only he would wear an ugly shirt like that, and it's like a Hawaiian shirt. Um, and then Bill cuts him down, and he sees that he has a couple of bites on his body. So, he probably hung himself because he didn't want to turn. And Bill's still sad, and but if he says fuck him, he's like, if that's what he wanted, then fuck him. But in fact, this is where I'm going to bring up a letter here, right? In the TV show, we get a beautiful letter from Bill to Joel, right? On the importance of them and their role in life and being protectors. In the video game, well, we get a letter as well, but it's from Frank to Bill. Again, we don't even meet Frank in the video game. We don't even get to see him other than that he was this body hanging from the ceiling. Right, he's already dead and we only know him as a dead person in the video game. But this is a letter that Frank wrote to Bill in the video game. He says, "Well, Bill, I doubt you'd ever find this note because you were too scared to ever make it to this part of town. But if for some reason you did, I want you to know I hated your guts. I grew tired of this shitty town and of your set in your ways attitude. I wanted more from life than this, and you could never get that. And that stupid battery you kept moaning about, I got it. But I guess you were right. Trying to leave this town will kill me. Still better than spending another day with you. Good luck, Frank." So is a that is how their relationship ended in the video game, right? Just, it ended with hate, basically. It ended with Frank just, that the fight we see them having. Um, what year is that supposed to be in the TV show? I can't remember off the top of my head. In 2010, at any rate, they've been together for 3 years at that point in the TV show, right? And that's the fight we see them having in the street, where Frank is telling Bill, you uh I'm getting tired of just surviving. I want to live. That's basically the sentiment that Frank is giving to Bill in this letter here, right? Uh, However, in the TV show, Bill relents and he starts to let that love in his heart. In the game, that didn't happen to the point where Frank goes out, gets infected, and then has to kill himself from so he doesn't turn into an infected. Just wildly different. So, um, they figure out, okay, the Frank's got the battery, right? So there's a truck there they can that they're gonna take. They just can't quite get it started because the battery needs to be charged or whatever. They can get it started by uh, pushing the truck though. So they have to push the truck to get it started. Of course, this is another great action scene for a video game where you're trying to push the truck as Ellie is driving the truck, and she's going to start it as you're pushing the truck. And then, of course, infected are coming at the same time that you're doing this. So you have to, like, uh, fight off infected at the same time that you're trying to get this truck started. Makes for a fun action scene in the context of playing a video game. Again, as a TV show, I just don't. Yeah, I don't think it'd work. You can't have a horde of 20 infected, and in a world where we know that the ammunition is limited. Not like a video game where if you play on easier modes, you can just have a ton of ammo, just keep shooting and shooting and shooting. Right? In the TV show, in the real world that they are trying to portray, is there's limited ammo, and it's not easy to shoot things that are moving targets and trying to chase you and trying to bite you at the same time that you're trying to push and start a truck at the same time. So I totally understand the change for just for that aspect, but then obviously the biggest aspect is that it's just a way better story and gives us way better um shadowing of Bill and Joel and where we are with that for the TV show. It just works so much better. And again, just listening to Neil Druckman and Craig Mazin and them saying, the only time we're going to deviate from the game is if um, we think that it's a lot better than the video game. They said, if it's worse to the same, if they write something that's worse to the same than what the video game is, then they're going to do what the video game does. Uh, the only time they're going to change something for the TV show from the video game is if they feel like they wrote it even better than what was the video game. And to me, yeah, the story of Frank and Bill is way better in the TV show. Uh, of course, it's a video game. You fight off this big horde of infected while pushing a truck, trying to get it started at the same time. While this 14-year-old girl is starting a truck, by the way, who, in our world, in the TV show world, this girl's, never even been in a truck before, but somehow in the TV show, I mean, in the video game, she's able to know how to start, like a manual truck. This girl who has never been outside of the quarantine zone before. Also in the video game, she's never been outside of the quarantine zone before, but now she knows how to start a manual truck. But again, just it makes so much sense for the TV show to change these things. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, they escape the infected here. They get it started. They escape. They drive to another part of town where Bill tells them, "Hey, okay, I'm out here. Go ahead, let me drop off, or drop me off here." And Joel tries to console him about Frank here, and Bill's not really receptive of it. So Bill's just like, "Okay, whatever. Are we even now? Did I do you your favor?" And Joel's like, "Yeah." So then Bill tells him to get out of his town. And then Joel and Ellie hit the road. We do get a little scene of them driving in this truck out of the town, and it's a little similar to what we get in the TV show. In the TV show, we see them put in a tape, and of course, in the TV show, it's Linda Ronstadt, and they drive off just doing that. In the video game, it's a little bit more comical. Apparently, Ellie's supposed to be taking a nap in the truck or something, and she wakes up and she was reading a comic book, The Savage Starlight, I believe, and then she also finds like a nudie magazine that Bill had in the truck, and tosses that out. And then they find a tape, and then they put the tape in the video game. We don't get the beautiful love story between Bill and Frank. There's no long time. There's no uh, you know, there's no longing that Bill has, or he never gets to a place where he's that vulnerable. So it just so happens in the video game, he's got a tape in his truck, and it's Hank Williams, and it's playing a song that is actually, pretty fitting for the world that they're in. The song that's playing when you put the tape in the video game is "I'll Never Get Out of This World Alive," again by Hank Williams. And that's where the uh, TV show episode ends. So that's where we'll end our discussion of the video game as well. But yeah, pretty amazing difference, right? Just blows my mind how different it is uh, from the TV show to the video game, or from the video game to the TV show. But just how much better it is. I mean, it's just such a better story. Again, to me, I get why some people feel a little bummed out that we didn't get that version of the town itself, just because there's a lot more action that happens in the town. But to me, even when you play The Last of Us, even though there are all these action scenes, The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 are my favorite video games of all time because of the story of them, not because of the great action that's in them. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good, but that's not why I love the games. I feel like, hey, this is a video game, so I'm being given these action things to do because that's what you do in video games. But I don't think of Joel as like this highly skilled, highly trained, um, marksman, shooter, or killer when I'm playing the video game. I'm just doing that because they have to give you something to do in a video game. I still think of him as, he's reluctant to do these things, and it's not fun for him to do these things, but it's necessary to live in this world. So it would be, to me, it would be odd if they had him, look like he was like some super action hero in the TV show. So I don't mind that we don't get a lot of that in the from going into Bill's town in the TV show. It's just them going in there and getting all these emotional points across, right? But again, I could get why you would miss that, because again, a lot of fun action scenes, a lot of intense and suspenseful moments. Just for me, in the end, overall, it's worth it to lose that for the emotions that we felt during episode 3. Long time, right? and just to see what love can be in this world. We've already seen lots of examples of what loss feels like in this world, and uh, what you know we get plenty of examples just in the 3 episodes of like what it of what it's like to not have any connection. So I felt like it was great. Halfway through the 3rd episode here, you see what it means in this world to have connection, and you see that it's possible in this world. And we need to know that, because we need to know that this is possible for Joel as well. That he's, you know, able to become this, protector that he's supposed to be, and do what he was meant to be put on this earth for, to be this protector. But not just because he's the protector, but because he cares for the people that he's protecting, right? So we need to know that it's possible for Joel, and I think that's what this episode is showing us, that there's potential for. All right, that's going to be the episode, though. Again, just loving the TV show. Can't wait for the next episode. Loving that you guys are at least listening and watching the show here. Love some more interaction. So please leave a comment, even if you're just leaving a thumbs up or whatever. I want to hear some feedback. What did you think of this episode? If you are a game player, I want to know, how did you feel about this episode? Did you were you really missing the action sequences that we get out of this? Again, a lot of fun action sequences in the video game that, to me, I just don't think it work as well in a storytelling aspect as a TV show. But if you're really missing it, I'd love to hear about it. So let me know in the comments, or write it to me at thelastofustalkshow@gmail.com. All right, that's the episode. Can't wait to do the instant take when the episode drops tomorrow, from the time that I'm recording this. So until then, endure and survive.